Michael is here to speak to us today about math instruction for all learners at a distance, blended learning, hybrid, and more. So with that, I just would like to welcome Michael and thank you all for your attendance.
Thank you, Amy. Once again, Michael Matos. I'm the Education Technology Director for Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition, your Region 3 representative for COABE, and also the Region 1 board member for IASA. And as always, it is a pleasure to be at the Forum for Excellence and to see many familiar faces again. In the chat, besides introducing yourselves, name, organization, I've also added 3 links, which you could start to open them now if you can. The first one is the Jamboard engagement, which we'll be working through throughout the hour we're together here. The resource link, which is some resources, and of course I'll go to all of these too. And then I know the presentation is in the app, but there's a presentation link as well on here. So I'm here to talk about math instruction and for adult learners at a distance, blended learning, hybrid, and more. I believe that I've been doing this for a while, even before the pandemic. I've always tried to make my activities where you can use them in class, send them out for homework, whether it be a hard copy or a computer generated version. Always use websites and whatever platforms had these virtual components way back when. I'll say it that way. So I've always been involved in trying to put this what we consider to be like hybrid learning now. The delivery and other small features and even larger features that have come up in the last couple of years, obviously I'm always incorporating and always trying to make it better. I consider math instruction something that you can complete, get engaged in anywhere, and I also consider it to be fun. That's always an important part of it. What I have put together here is a lot of information. It's not to dive into all of it now. It's to get some ideas, how to use some of these websites, how to use some of these activities that I've created, which I call homemade activities, both in class, without a computer, with a computer, at home, without a computer, with a computer, working as a group, working individually, and some of these other engagement tools like Jamboard that have come up, and how do I use this with my my current platform or current approved software that I'm using, and how to keep students engaged. So here I go. So this is just to show you all the information that's in here by the categories. These are links to those slides, so it's a quick, fast pace to those slides, gets you there, and you can look at what you're interested in. So that will be, of course, in your presentation. So here is the Jamboard. Many of my students have a mobile device, whether it be a tablet, a Kindle, which is a form of tablet, of course, or a smartphone, and they love QR codes because they're able to just take a picture of this and get on the site right away. For those of you that are on the computer, though, you can easily go into the chat link that I have in your chat there and click on the Jamboard, and that will take you to the Jamboard. And I'm going to do that right now. And it's not doing it for me, but I will try it again. Let me go. So I'm going to do it straight from the chat, just where you guys are at as well. So if I go to the chat, and and click on the chat link. This is where it takes me. So basically, here's the Jamboard. And if you have not used Jamboard before, hopefully you're all, I see some of you are on there already. There's about 6 of you on there so far. Give it a try. It'll open it up in another tab. Even if you're on your phone, you can easily go back and forth. If you have a smartphone, that is. And you're able to keep that aside, go back to the presentation. So if we look at the Jamboard, there's 8 slides here, as you can see on the top. And if you look over on the left, we have the pen, so you can actually draw on here with the pen, right? We have the eraser to get rid of that. We have the pointer, of course, so you can move things around and go ahead and navigate through this. We have the sticky notes, of course, which we can add here, right? And you have your sticky note. If you don't like what you put in there, you obviously can delete it pretty easily. Pictures, you can bring in pictures from anywhere, as you can see here, or you could just pop up the camera and then just take a picture of yourself. Of course, you can see my green screen back here because it doesn't work with the Zoom as well, but you can take a picture of yourself and insert it. So students love to do that as well. Of course, you can get rid of the picture too. You can add other pictures from your library and so on. And you could add shapes. So I can add a shape here. I can put text in the shape. And I can work with a text box and of course put anything in that text box that I want to relay. And then we have the pointer, which as you can see here, will follow a path or circle something. It doesn't stay on, but it brings attention to somewhere on the screen. So a lot of nice little gadgets. And then of course up here you have your slides, and you can move through your slides. Okay, so I have a riddle to start off the day, the morning, I guess, or the session, this 1-hour session with you. Let me go back to the notes. So I just pulled up the notes in case I went through that too quick, because I know that is what people use the most. The sticky notes. So I have a riddle for you here. So it's called Legs and Paws. There are 6 women. Each woman has 6 baskets. Each basket has 6 cats. Each cat has 6 kittens. How many paws are there in all? And for my students, of course, I make sure that it's not a 3-legged cat or 3-legged kitten. We've got 4 paws. So throughout the day, go ahead and put some answers in there, or throughout the session here, or of course, any time later, because this link will be open. I'm just going to go through the slides real quick, and then I've got some more serious slides. So how do you expect to teach math this fall, which I'm sure many of you have started already, in person, virtual, hybrid, blended, flex. There are so many different models for a so-called hybrid. So whatever you want to put in there, I totally understand most of them. What are some ideas? And this is getting you to another question. Once again, just showing you some examples of keeping students involved. What are some ideas for what this Venn diagram shows? Let me know. Look through it. Give me some ideas. Then going back to some other questions, which will relate a little bit more to the websites that I want to share and some of the activities I want to share with, which are more contextualized in some workplace careers. So what math skills do barbers, cosmetologists, and other personal appearance workers need? The next one deals with that as well. What kind of math skills will animal care and service workers need? And what kind of math skills do dental assistants need? And what are some of your favorite math websites, apps, or other online resources? I'm always learning, so put them in there. Have you ever used virtual reality tools, apps, or other resources to teach math skills? Yes or no? And if you have, can you describe it a little bit? And I've had, and then I just have an extra slide there. And for any other comments, or maybe hopefully this gets, each one of these slides gets so full that you want to put those comments in the last slide that's probably still empty. And I'm sorry to throw some math at you so early in the morning, but it's good for you. I'm going to share my screen again, only this time I'm going to do it as a desktop, just for the fact that it works a little better for me here. So hopefully everyone can see that. And I am going to go back to the presentation and get started here. I'm going to share one more thing with you here. One more link. And I'm going to go to the chat as well and pull that off the chat. So you know that it works, the links work on the chat, and you'll be able to get to them there as well. So this is what's called the resource link. So let me get you to that. So I'm also the manager for the Illinois Digital Learning Lab project, and we put together a whole website, and I just want to show you the resource site. So the resource site here is, as it says, resources, and there's quite a bit of resources here. Something to look back at if you're looking for something that you have an idea of what the topic or the theme is going to be, or how you want to distribute it to your students, how you want your students to get engaged. So I'm going to go to the math site one and stop going. There you go. Okay. And I'm going to click on the math site one. And basically what it pulls up is a Google Doc, which has, I think that this particular site obviously has a lot of resources because it's one of my favorites. And the pages here, the way that they're put together is that you have a link, as you can see there in blue, and you have a brief description of what's going on in each page. The reason that these are on here is because they're mostly free. They've been used by myself or other instructors, or I've learned about them through attending other presentations, and they seem to work. And I'll show you a little bit more on how I engage students through different platforms, something like Google Forms, or even the Jamboard that I'm showing you now, using a variety of sites, all dealing with the same theme or topic or skill level. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my presentation here. Hopefully everyone can go on that, or save the link, copy it, save it somewhere, and you can explore it later. Okay, so any questions you have throughout, please feel free to put it in the chat as I go through here. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is some math teaching strategies and critical thinking skills that I keep in mind when I'm putting together these activities and delivering this engagement for our students. Make numbers come to life, create accelerated and individualized math, base your instruction in your learner's real world experience. 3 very important features or strategies. Building vocabulary is always a big part of anything in education, and that's obviously a very big part of math. Design multi-sensory lessons. So using even hands-on, I know we're thinking hands-on is something that was way back, but They'll come back. We still need it in some classrooms now, right? Depending on the way that you're delivering instruction. Integrate educational technology. So using those interactive Google or Office documents and a lot of the things we're going to be talking about today. Manipulative use when teaching math is always important. So that physical or the visualizing, which both comes to in-person and virtual. Problem-solving instruction, explicit instruction in the steps to solving. So explicit instruction, not only in the steps to solving, but in the steps to access. Reinforcing math skills through games. And like I said, I like to keep it fun. So I'm going to be showing you some examples of games, and hopefully we can get involved in some games as well. Student-generated word problems. I've been working a lot with instructors and students on creating activities where the students generate their own word problems. And these word problems are generated from things they do every day, their everyday life, their home life, their work life. They're able to see how a word problem is put together, and then able to solve other word problems easier because they know the setup, they know what to expect and how to look for information. Using graphic organizers, obviously very important, those charts and graphs and so on. I use a lot of tables, the rows and columns, the whole idea of thinking about rows and columns and numbers within them, and how does that work to come to a answer. Math critical thinking skills. Obviously, if you look at a lot of these skills on here, you're thinking reading. Yes, math is a lot of reading, a lot of understanding the situation, understanding the word problem. So you have the understand the central idea, supporting ideas, up to interpreting charts and tables. Okay, so I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but you can take a look at them there. Other math critical thinking skills. These, of course, if you look at them, you're thinking more science or social studies. Yes, a lot of these components, once again, come into math. Using the bar graphs for comparison, determining the probability of dependent events and single events and so on. So all of these play a big role in the math content. So some of the things that I've done in the past, there's a lot of things to cover in math, and a lot of math across the curriculum, right? Across those subject areas. So I've looked at it in many ways, depending on my class and the needs and the goals of that class, set it up into 4 or 5 kind of categories. This is just one example of that. So this particular term or year, I was using measurement and calculation. So a lot of activities involved with that. Money math, scheduling, budgeting, and accounting, and data analysis. And of course, the examples change through every term or throughout the year, gauging my students' needs. All right, good. So I've gone through some of those ideas that I keep in mind as I'm planning. So some math real world situations for the workplace. So I'm going to share some websites for you. Hopefully you're going on the Jamboard. You've answered as many of you as you can that first riddle. And then hopefully have gone through some of the other slides and started to put some input. Okay, so go ahead and do that. You could always listen right now. And once I get to the actual website, could come back and look at it. So the inability to recode real world situations into math, obviously, is at every level. Doesn't matter what you're studying, what degree you have, and so on. Changing work practices generate new ideas and demands for mathematical skills. So that's why it's always growing, always learning. So the efficiency, innovation, quality, and continuous improvement is all part of this workplace practices. Judgment or problem-solving procedures. So mathematics is applied in both routine and complex tasks. requiring sophisticated use of fundamental mathematical skills. So, for example, if mathematical demands may be present in your workplace task, but often the tasks are not obviously mathematical. Okay, so looking a little bit more into math workplace, they contain extraneous information that you have to sort through, rearranging the information, to get that required answer. And sequencing is so important. So workplace math, as we talked about earlier, is this critical thinking, as applied to math. I've put together a chart, and this is this chart is actually more extensive than what I have here. And I try to keep adding to it, though I wanted to make it as easy to read through as possible. So I looked at the math foundational skills on the left and looked at some of those skills on the right, or the workplace examples on the right. As you can see, like for whole numbers, you read, write, count, round off, and so on. And some of the workplace skills like ordering supplies, take stock inventory. So, you could develop one of these on your own. You can use this one. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. And you can look at this example and see what works for you and how to relate this to your students. And I have some ideas later in this workplace section on how to do that. Okay, so now some math website and app ideas for the workplace. So as I mentioned earlier, so one really nice site that I use, so many of my students let me know what career they want to be in. And one of the ones that is used the most is, I'm going to be a hairdresser. So why would I need to learn any math skills? Obviously, there's a lot more on here, as you can see on the left. There's community services, healthcare, building construction, hospitality, and so on. And there's some really good videos. This is an Australian site, so of course, I'm not sure if they have the accent or we have the accent, but I'm going to go to this one video real quick here and show you that a little bit. We're going to go to the website, which hopefully will get me there. There you go. So it's SkillsOneTV, and I'm just going to play this video.
What? A maths tutor? I don't need a maths tutor. I'm not even going to need maths once I finish school. So who cares if I do well or not?
Everybody goes, whoa, maths. I thought I was coming to learn to cut hair, but you need to know how to cut hair. We need to hold hair at different angles, and it's very important that we need to know how to mix our colours and products correctly as well. For all you kids that wonder why you need to do maths at school, you probably think that you're just cutting hair, or you're just putting rollers in the hair, or you're just putting colours in the hair, but it's very important that you have your mathematical background.
With the consultation and with the client, when we first started the haircut, we evaluate if they've got an oval face, if they need a fringe at all to soften up their profiles.
When we section hair off, we do a horizontal line. Okay, so when we're doing a colour application, for example, or a treatment application, we use a vertical section straight around the head, okay, and that splits the hair into half there. So I've got 2 vertical and 1 horizontal on the top. Also, when we cut hair as well, we just hold the hair straight up at 90 degrees and we cut across the top.
Okay, well, there's a lot more to this video, and there's some other great videos on here. A great way to introduce your students to what is going on here with the math skills that are needed for that particular career. As you can see, the others that are in there. There's a couple of other sites like this. I'm not going to go into them for the video, but I'll explain a little bit more. So a great site to use as a setup, as some background and some great ideas to introduce math within that career. Another site that I use for some great information is We Use Math. The We Use Math site, they help students, with everything math related. It talks about careers using math. It talks about careers in math. And just some other resources that teachers can use to make sure that students understand why they're learning these math skills. How does it make sense in the real world, and why you need them, and the career or the workplace tasks that require them. Another little interesting math site that was actually put together a while ago by a professor over at a Georgia Technical University, that using math in the workplace, he put together a number of these scenarios, and this one's the oncology office, and it talks about the receptionist. What would the receptionist need math skills for? The billing agent, the clerical staff, the office manager, the nurses, the doctors. So it's a really nice setup, and definitely something that could be used for free to develop activities. Let me go here. XP Math, and XP Math has been kind of rearranged, and now it's called XP Math 2. And a lot of games, a lot of different other parts of math, XP Math 2. There's XP Math 1 as well that I use quite a bit of. So using XP Math, I was able to use the bls.gov site, which brought together, the business stats of a career and the description of that career, the salary, and now they have a map on determining where in the U.S. that salary would be, or a higher salary. And I put together these cards. These were interactive cards, and then I keep adjusting them because obviously some of the sites that they go to, the links for these sites, happen to have fallen out, like many sites do, especially if they're free, and I've had to add others. So I use them as an informative, and they can still go on the bls.gov site and find a lot of this information. And then the XP Math site changed a little bit too. So I do have one that is linked, and this should take you to it. But obviously there's a lot less linked information and more of a fact sheet that you can continue to put activities and engage the student with. So I have the advertising and marketing and computer for information, construction managers, and so on. So by using those links on this virtually, the students can get to practice. So basically combining those resources that I showed you earlier from the IDLL site and into these sheets, and being able to go to these free practice sites on fractions, on decimals, and continue their work off of this one sheet. There's just a wealth of information that they can use to practice for free. And you can see all the ones that I have here: food service managers. Okay, and then another site, and this one I definitely want to go into and show you, the BBC SkillsWise Math for Adults. Just a wealth of information, and it's all free. And I'm going to go into this real quick and just show you a little bit of it. So as we go through the site, the SkillsWise site for the BBC, you can see here you've got all the skills, and within there, if we go to numbers, for examples, they break that up even further, a little more in detail. Okay, and I'm gonna stick with the first one here, the number line. And if we go to number line, you have a nice introduction how-to video. And if you go down there, you go further down, you have quick tips for tutors. And then down here, you have some downloadable fact sheets, some downloadable worksheets. And obviously that will take you to more of those skills. And it's like this for every single one of them. Obviously some have more than others. Some of the skills have more than others, but just some great information, recently updated. So it's an updated website, which is always good to know. And it's just got a wealth of information. Okay, I'm going to go back to my presentation here and keep going through some of these examples and go on to the next category. Okay, so just to round off this math ideas, websites for the workplace, some other, these are apps to improve your math skills. These were the last time that I looked at them was probably towards the end of 2020, early 2021. Just some great, obviously some of these you've used before. Khan Academy, for example, maybe you've used King of Maths, which works great with Google Classroom. Maybe you've used Learning Upgrade or Photo Math, which is one of those math apps that you can take a picture of anything, even an equation or a graph that you might have drawn on paper, and it will solve or help you to solve that particular problem. Geometry Pad is what you see on the phone here on the right, where you could actually go ahead and plot different things on a graph. So some great stuff you can use on your phone. Some of them are free, or you have some of it that's free, and most of these there is a cost. All right, so then I just wanted to show you some of my so-called homemade activities that once again you can use virtually or on a hard copy in person. And just looking with some formulas related to the healthcare field and measurements and so on, using formulas and knowing how to go through a formula. Once again, using a formula, using a medication, on determining what those letters are in the formula and working through that. Just another example here of having a particular order and what I have on hand and what I need to produce. And a lot of these we use with our healthcare bridge. In relation to that, I wanted to show you some math real world situations when it comes to science tables and charts and things that I've created, using stuff like evolutionary clock and determining, there's a lot of reading that happens here, but there are those small components of the math skills that are related to the reading and understanding the graphic. Like for example, for this one, the underground contamination, for example, we have the charts, we have questions associated with this. And these activities, by the way, these and many more, you can find in my Google Doc sharing website, which I have So let's see here. I'm going to put my Google email in the chat. So it's in the chat. If you want me to share all of these completed activities with some of these charts and stuff, especially the science ones and some of my social studies related math ones, I don't have them here just really have examples of charts and so on that I use for those activities. As my first riddle, which hopefully many of you are answering, I have other riddles, and I just wanted to briefly go through some of those and where you can find. So that's the one that I have. And obviously I took that even further, as you can see here, using a calculator, determining how much food a particular cat or kitten will need, and other riddles and so on, to work through that. So other riddles and so on that that we can work through and all that stuff. I'm just have these here as examples. And basically what I do is I either put these in a Jamboard, I can put them in a Nearpod engagement, I can put them in Google Forms and have a number of them. I can relate them to an activity or a bell ringer, you know, a starter, just a warm up, and I can use it with a number of other platforms to keep engagement going. And some other riddles. These number stompers are also great riddles too to use. And as you can see, these are interactive, so you have a text box or an underline. Math word sorts, keeping in with that. Using vocabulary and so on, just another great activity. Is start with what you know and then working on developing those that math vocabulary. Math in the movies, and what I've done is created a number of these from these ideas that I found in books back from the 70s, 60s and 70s, creating a basically a table where every letter relates to a number, and then creating words that translate to numbers, and just having a library of these and creating themes. So for example, these are movie themes, and some of the statements or words that I have. So the number in a quartet plus 2 squared, right? The number of the US states minus 30. And just some other examples here. And I've got a number of these through my Google Doc sharing. Hopefully soon I will have these also in my resource site as well. It requires a little bit more storage space, but I do have them in my Google Doc, and willing and able to share with everyone and anyone who's interested in using. You can use them, download them, and use them however you want. Just setting up and dragging and dropping and setting up equations with the answer already there, but what you're doing is setting up the whole flow on how it was solved. Creating those math word problems that I mentioned earlier, and using realia items, whether they're items that you have online or items that you have that you can hold and manipulate, and adding those to your word problems really goes a long way in understanding those math skills. And I just wanted to show you real quick some of the ones that you can find online and how interactive you can make them with a few clicks. Stuff like coupons that you can use interactively, recipes on Recipe Land, menu page, which has menus from all over the world and prices that you can include in here. Using stuff from Illuminations, the NTCM Illuminations page has just got a wealth of information, and just some other pages that are within that. So just some other ideas with using those manipulatives. Also creating your own manipulative, whether you use them online or virtually, or print them out. Some printable paper rulers that you can use, protractors, and all of this is free and able to use at any time. And the ruler game, just another great game to use, and they're actually coming out with a new one where you can start to use a ruler. And if I'm sure all of us that teach math, we've found out that many students do not know how to use rulers, whether they're virtual on a screen where they can manipulate and move around and use digital components of it, or the actual hands-on ruler. So these ruler games are great. Pythagorean theorem, I put here as an example, kind of as like a little mini topic in here, but obviously there are so many other skills, math skills within these sites. If you haven't used shoulder.org, just a number of activities you can find here. It's a wealth of information. And then some of these other ones that I'm going to go through pretty quick, but free with tests and so on that you can bring in and use as you like. And then some of the real world situations that I've created on my own for this. And just some other information, some other activities that I created. I created my own little ruler game as well that you can use interactively or on paper, how much material you would need. So obviously I give all that detailed information and the formulas and so on. My rectangle kind of moved a little bit over the width and the length area there. How much carpet, how many tiles, how much flooring, how much wallpaper, and just working with shapes and understanding these formulas and a lot of these questions that they ask you on the HSC exams and things that you need for real life careers and home improvement, right? And looking through that. Just some other homemade activities. Once again, using a lot of tables, using a lot of rows and columns. And I'm going to go through these kind of quickly. I'm going to go back to this one. So just writing formulas and using Excel and sheets too to help you put together formulas and understand formulas, and looking at the coupons, as I mentioned earlier, and the things you could create with those coupons that you can find online, or if you have hard copies, the Fahrenheit, Celsius, and cooking and so on. A lot of tables, a lot of rows and columns, understanding X and Y's, what happens with that. So you got your variables, right? Where do your variables go? Electrician's math and using formulas for that. Order forms, because you can put together an order form and have students order off of any magazine and look and see what the costs are and how do we complete these and so on. Working with maps and understanding, maps, what are those, right? But we can use app related maps. We can use anything virtual, or we can just pull up an old atlas and work with that. So these are just some examples of that. Creating these motion timelines. This one working with birth and death rates and population, and just building this and looking up information online and continuing to add to this interactively. Just a number of other websites where you can use this one, metric conversion, and there's just so many of those. I have a number of financial literacy type related activities. This one also comes off of shoulder.org, where you can actually, it'll toss a penny for you, and it'll toss a penny for you as many times as you want it to be tossed. And then you can figure out how many heads, how many tails. You can find out probability. You can even predict beforehand, like I have there. You can take those and bring it into a fraction. You work as a decimal, and then of course create those probability events. And just some other money related stuff, and obviously rows and columns and text boxes that you can put in. There's a developer tab. Not only can you do this in Forms and some other features and some other platforms, but you can also open up the developer tab within your Microsoft Word and be able to add a lot of these interactive features. And these are just games that I've created, that many of them I've used with hands-on in person, but now I've started to move them into a virtual setting and how to use virtually. And it's because in the thinking originally of these games, I can easily move them into a virtual setting. So hopefully you're still going into your Jamboard and completing some of those questions, and giving me some ideas on how you're working and so on. And just a number of, and I've created a lot of my games that I had, these board games, I've made them virtual now. So all of these ideas you would be able to find in my Google Doc as well, how to create them, how to make them virtual, how to make them hands-on, and so on. And just all these game sites that we think of it as being all for kids, and a lot of it is, but how can we let the students know that this is for practice, and it's to get you ready for the other things that we'll be talking about as well. And just looking at some of these, I wanted to get to this one, MrNewsBomb.com. One of my favorite ones is Boxing Einstein, which you can, I'm going to go over here and see if I can find Boxing Einstein for you. Here it is. So basically what you would do is once you get to the game and you click ready, it lets you pick a famous character, right, throughout history. And that's the person that will be boxing Einstein. So there's a lot here to learn, because you can go off and start looking at who these people were and so on. And so there's a lot of different ideas that you could use here as we go, as you get them ready to start boxing Einstein. We go back to the presentation here, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the game show apps and so on. And we're all very familiar with game show apps. We're very familiar with Kahoot, the eQuiz show, if you haven't used that before. And looking at Kahoot, looking at eQuiz Show and Quizalize and Quizlet and quizzes. So I'd like to invite you to continue to work on the Jamboard. I would also like to invite you to reach out to me to share some of these activities with you. And now to look through our last few minutes together here, I'm going to put you on a quizzes. Very simple math, 10 questions, something that hopefully you use with your students. There's the classic version, and I'm going to click on the classic version, and hopefully because of their links here, okay, and hopefully you can get on this, go to your mobile device or open up a new tab, go to joinmyquiz.com, and this is will be a nice example to end with, and to look at a way of bringing in some of these game show apps, as they're called, and work with them. Obviously, these are all very friendly, as many of the other sites, with using in Jamboard and Nearpod, with other Edpuzzle, for example. I've used them, and of course Google Classroom and incorporating it into that Google Classroom. So I'll wait until a few of you come on in here and we'll get started. Come on in, we'll have some fun here. So if I'm sure you've used Quizlet. I know many people use Quizlet, so that's why I didn't pull up the Quizlet one, but I have Quizlet, and I also have a link to a Quizlet activity on that slide. I have a eQuiz show link on the eQuiz show site. I also have one in the Kahoot slide, a link for that too. And if you haven't used Quizalize, I have a link in there too. Quizalize, what the unique feature they have is as you go through the activity, you can set parameters. So if you scored less than 50 on that activity, it takes you to another activity for you to continue to work on this skill. If you scored between 50 and 80, it takes you to a different activity. If you scored 80 and above, it will take you to another activity. And it helps you to arrange all these activities in advance and have the students with multiple opportunities to practice and have these games. So we almost ready. We're getting some more people on here. Okay, I'm going to start it. The rest of you can watch if you didn't want to get on, and we can see what happens here. So there is a sound here. I turned it down. I turned it up. And we'll leave it off for a little bit as we see that populates. I'm just showing you the top. I think I have 10 on there. I can see about 8, but and then I will put the sound on again. Okay, so as we see those in the top 5 come in, I'd like to thank you all so much for attending, and I'd like to leave these last couple of minutes to any questions if you want to put them in the chat. Once again, continue to answer stuff on the Jamboard. The Jamboard will be open. Go on the resource site, explore the rest of the site, because there's so many great ideas by many of Illinois' finest, right? The instructors and administrators and support staff of adult ed throughout the state. Take a look at that information, explore this presentation a little bit more, try out some of these activities. The pause, yes, I was going to get to that. It's 6,048. So we have actually I can go to it. I'm going to first put a I guess a shameless invite to we have a virtual rally going on between your break from 11:30 to 12. If you want to register for it and attend and cheer on Illinois, it's 5 states in my region, in Region 3 for COABE. Please, if you have the time, come on and join us. That's the registration link on there. You can click on there and register, and you can just come for that time for Illinois. Let me go to my Jamboard here, see what we got. And obviously Jamboard is pretty much anonymous, so we don't see right or wrong for a particular person. And so yeah, so we've got, there's 6, right? And we convert that first sentence to 6. That's what's great about these riddles, that we can convert these letters to numbers. We take, each woman has 6 baskets, so we take 6 times 6, and that will give us 36. Each basket has 6 cats. That will give us a 36 times 6, which I think gives us like what, 256, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have my answers in front of me here. I'm trying to do it in my head here. After that, we get that 256 times 6 again, which gives us, I believe, 1296. The problem that happens here, and we'll see that a lot, when we get the 5,184 answer or somewhere near there, we forgot to go back and add those cats to the kittens before we multiply by 4, giving us the 6,048. So I use these types of things too, to understanding a problem and making sure that you're answering the question of that word problem correctly. Thank you all for participating. And once again, this Jamboard stays open. So I would love to see responses to those other 7 slides, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. This was a great session. Just a reminder, please go in and review the session, so you can go into your Whova app and give a rating on how you think the session went. And then our next session will start at 10:30 a.m. this morning. So please enjoy those sessions. And thank you again, Michael. Great session, great content, great information, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.